do. Baby Reed.
Jump on, no way, Courtney, it's pizza on my Nike. It's pizza. Look at my shoe. Explain that to me. It's pizza on my Nike. Hey man, welcome to New York.
All right, everybody. Welcome to an edition of the Wall Street Journal podcast. Been some time, got busy in between, but we're back at it now. Got Nishan on the line with me. What's up, dude?
What's going on, dude? How happy are you right now?
Well, so yeah, the big news came on Sunday night, and it was funny. I mean, you and me were literally on the phone, and when the news broke, so you got my immediate reaction, and yeah, it was unexpected happiness.
Let's be honest, dude. You were driving. You probably shouldn't have been checking your phone. I'm reporting you to the police.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking, and then my phone just kept blowing up, and then I was like, what are all these notifications coming? And it was just all these reporters reporting the LAbron news.
Oh, I thought it was LeBron sliding into your DMs, dude.
If only. Yeah, I mean, the way that he did it this time, it was just completely unexpected, because first he did it on a Sunday night, and usually Sunday night is where news gets buried. That's when unimportant news, gets reported. And then on top of that, it was the Twitter account of Clutch Sports, like his agency, was the one who published a press release, and apparently it wasn't even a verified Twitter account at the time. So it was mainly reported because they also sent out an email. The press release was also emailed to all the reporters, like the big ones like Woj, Windhorst, everybody, and then they all posted on their Twitter accounts. But yeah, I mean, it was funny. So on Saturday night, I usually don't do this, but this year, I was like, all right, it's a big year for the Lakers, so I stayed up till midnight on Saturday from June 30th to July 1st. As sad as that sounds, yeah, this is the kind of stuff I do. I stay up till midnight on July 1st on a Saturday night. And, nowadays the deals are broken even before midnight. So at like 11:40, it was like, all right, Paul George is re-signing with the Thunder. I'm like, oh my God, like I thought we had this guy locked down. Like out of all the guys we were rumored to get, this guy seemed the biggest lock, Paul George, and we didn't get him. Then I'm like, wow, I don't think we're getting anybody else because LeBron's not going to come here alone. And it just all turned on Sunday.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting. I mean, but this, it's an interesting move by LeBron, and we talked about it before on the pod. It's a move about his family, a move about his life after basketball, a move to kind of learn from Magic how to be a successful mogul. I mean, as great as Michael Jordan has been as an NBA player, he hasn't been nearly as successful as Magic has been in his post-basketball career, and so LeBron kind of gets to learn from the guru. But it's an interesting spot for him to land. I mean, in the past, he's never liked to play with younger guys. He always liked experienced guys who he can rely on in the fourth quarter of those clutch playoff games. But is this what it is for LeBron now? Like just being there to mentor young guys and not really care much about chasing rings?
Yeah, it's hard to tell. So one of the interesting things is he chose the Lakers, so I'm obviously extremely happy, but I'm not going to be completely biased and say this is also the best basketball situation for him. I think if he wanted to win a championship, obviously Houston, Philadelphia, they're probably better moves to make. But I think what it came down for him is also he doesn't want to be. He's already done the whole ring chasing, right? Like he went to Miami and did the whole ring chasing. Then for him, when he came back to Cleveland, the mission that time was, all right, I've done my ring chasing. Now I want to do something for Cleveland. And I think this time the move is, all right, I want to set myself up post-basketball. Like he's already set with all his basketball ventures. But I think it's like, all right, where do I want to raise my kids? Do I want to raise them in Cleveland? And then where does his wife want to live? And that was a lot of the things we were hearing, right? Even before, it was like, his oldest son, Bronny, had committed to the Sierra Canyon high school where players like Marvin Bagley have gone. So it's a place that prominent basketball players or up and coming basketball players. So I think right now Scottie Pippen's son, Kenya Martin's son, they're all there. So it seems like that's what this move is really about. But I mean, who knows? Like this is not. I don't think the Lakers are a championship team this year because right after they signed LeBron, they started signing guys like Lance Stevenson and JaVale McGee. So But, you know, I can see what the Lakers are kind of doing in the sense that they're all one-year deals, so they're keeping the cap space flexibility going forward, but also signing guys like on one-year deals who could keep them competitive. But I think it's all going to come down to how much growth we see from the young guys.
Yeah, my question is, like, does this put LeBron perennially in, like, the number 2? Like, he'll never be able to surpass Michael because, I mean, he is making this non-basketball move, and he has moved around the NBA a lot. And, you know, a lot of the greats of the NBA, including your favorite, Kobe Bryant, says it's all about rings. And LeBron may not get another ring, even though, you know, LA is going to do their best to get some great acquisitions in 2019. He may not get another ring because the Warriors are just this transcendent team that just seems to get stronger every offseason. But is this it? Is LeBron content now with being the second best of all time, or has he already done enough in his career to be number 1?
Yeah, I think for him, he's happy with like whatever his legacy is already. Just everything he's achieved so far in his 15 years. And I mean, this could be like, I mean, I don't know if he's thinking this, but say he does lead the Lakers to a title, right? This might be that one move that could maybe vault him over Jordan. Because I think what he realized is in Cleveland, like, no matter how much he was doing, like, no one was saying, like, unequivocally he was better than MJ.
Unless he won this year.
Unless he won this year, right. He would need, like, some sort of, like, unexpected accomplishment like that. So now if he leads the Lakers to a title, so there's, like, multiple things at place, right? Like, leading 3 teams to a title, that's never been done by like any of the greats before. 2 was like before, like Kareem had led like the Lakers and Bucks to titles, but no one has ever done 3 teams. So that would be a great accomplishment, and to do it with the Lakers, with the way we've been losing the past 5 years at an unprecedented rate, the amount of losing the Lakers have suffered, for him to be that first superstar to come in through the door, not even like come in with somebody else. And if he could somehow, you know, win a championship here and lead the Lakers back to glory, that might be the accomplishment that vaults him over MJ.
Yeah, the other aspect of it comes down to, you know, he may just be trying to prolong his career. I mean, he's been playing until the late in the playoffs every year, you know, Game 6, Game 7, Game 5, however many they make it, Game 4 this year, however many games they make into the playoff run. He's playing, you know, easily over 100 games every year. Is this his way of kind of cooling it down so that maybe he could survive and prolong his career so he could be there when Bronny gets there in the NBA?
Yeah, that too. I mean, but if he wanted to cool it down as a career, it seemed like the Western Conference is not where he want to go because there's no off nights anymore. I mean, in the Eastern Conference, during the regular season especially, he could take some off nights. It's like besides Sacramento, I don't think there's an easy out in the West now because even Phoenix is improved with all their acquisitions, DeAndre Ayton, Mikal Bridges, and then they also got Trevor Ariza. I don't see like any easy outs in the Western Conference at all.
And even Sacramento, I feel like they're not there yet, but they're, for the first time, I have to say, Sacramento hasn't made a stupid move in this offseason, which is like, you know, that's surprising because sometimes that's what they're known for, right? Like just rushing and making a decision that ultimately hurts you. The team, I feel like,
their mistake could have been drafting Bagley over Doncic.
That's potentially true, but
yeah,
you know, that's kind of like the future beholds, and we need to wait to see how these guys' careers turn out. The team that I feel like it definitely made the weirdest acquisitions after you know, during this free agency is the Lakers, and I know they're all on 1-year deals, but after what LeBron went through with the idiocracy of JR, I feel like putting a team together who have questionable judgment is not the right thing to do. I mean, JaVale has been known to do that, and not the right kind of guy to have in your situation.
Yeah.
And also, like, the redundancy of players now, you know, like, now you have 2 point guards on your roster who don't shoot, around LeBron, who's also very ball dominant, Rondo, who needs the ball to be effective. I mean, you've never heard of Rondo being the best off-ball player, and Lonzo is the same kind of the same way. And so it's going to be an interesting adjustment. Is LeBron going to stop being the guy who brings the ball up the court every time, and finally let someone else to run the offense for him? Because he's never been with a point guard of even Rondo or Lonzo's caliber in terms of the court vision that they have.
Yeah, I mean, he's never played with a pass first point guard like this with both Lonzo and Rondo, because Kyrie was all about scoring, and so he's never had like a point guard like this. Yeah, man. I mean, I was seeing all these signings right after. So whereas like the night before, seeing Paul George not come to the Lakers is a low for me. Then we get LeBron and I'm on this high, and then immediately I go back down seeing all these signings, and I'm just. I mean, there was an article published today with Ramona Shelburne and Brian Windhorst on ESPN, and they are reporting that LeBron's on, like, he was consulted on all these moves, and he's on board with it. And apparently what Magic was trying to sell him is that we don't want to be like whoever you were on the Cavs. We want to surround you with some playmakers like Rondo. And it's like if you're going to play teams like Houston and Golden State, right, you're never going to be able to outshoot them. But why not try to defend them in a way that, you know, maybe could limit them? That I guess that's the plan they're going for here. So as weak as they are on defense, guys like Rondo and Lance, I mean, they are pretty good defenders. So I don't know if that's the plan here, or, you know, this is all they could get for guys who want to take 1-year deals, because the market's so weird this year. And whoever has money, like these players are just grabbing money, so it's hard to get guys on 1-year deals.
Yeah, I mean the most perplexing thing out of all of this, and it probably has to do with Clutch Sports, is the KCP signing.
Yeah.
It's a 1-year deal, right, or is it a 2-year deal?
No, it's a 1-year deal, $12 million.
Which is like way overpaid for a guy who's like not been who everyone thought he was going to be when he got drafted. He's not been the lockdown shooter. I mean, he's actually been a below average shooter in terms of three. But I guess that's the benefit of LeBron trying to stack the team with his own guys, which, you know, ultimately is the reason why the Cavs were as bad as they were, is because his guys kept getting paid. And maybe his way to fix that is having these 1-year deals. But, you know, is KCP and contracts like that the reason why? You know, just like Michael Jordan, like LeBron James is a great NBA basketball player, but he might not be the great basketball talent evaluator.
Yeah, I mean it's weird because the thing about KCP is I don't know if this is also one of those contracts to reward him, because a huge reason I think we even got LeBron is that we gave KCP the contract last year, right, which is kind of like building goodwill with Rich Paul and like the whole Clutch organization. And then because of that, we got access to Rich Paul throughout the year. Like, I mean, it's tampering, but I mean, I'm sure that every time that Rich Paul was sitting next to Jeannie Buss at a game or talking with Magic, they weren't discussing KCP every single time. So, you know, it is what it is. It might have just been one of those, hey, KCP, like, thank you for helping us get LeBron. Here's $12 million. Like, but yeah, I don't understand that. But it'll be interesting to see what we do forward, moving forward. Everything I'm hearing about Kawhi is like conflicting at this point. I don't know if the Lakers are going to get that deal done. One day I'm hearing that he prefers the Clippers now over the Lakers. But then some other people are saying that the fact that LeBron's there on the Lakers, he doesn't want to go to the Clippers now and compete against LeBron. Like, you know, Lakers versus Clippers, Kawhi versus LeBron. He doesn't want that. So yeah. I don't know what's going to happen.
Well, I mean, I think that's the hardest thing about Kawhi, this whole saga, is like we hear from Kawhi's people, but we never really hear from Kawhi exactly what's happening. There was like that one short, you know, anecdote when he was with, I think, Rachel Nichols, and like he actually finally said something, and then one of his guys pulled him away from finishing what he wanted to say. But I think that's the issue. Like Kawhi's whole storyline is being governed by someone besides Kawhi, and so like I don't know what to believe anymore. Like, where does Kawhi want to be? What does he want to do? You know, not too long ago, like there was buzzings, and this is just me being a Knicks optimist, that, you know, Kawhi wants to play with Kyrie and they both want to be in New York, and, you know, Kawhi spent so much time in New York during his rehab. But I think this is all hearsay. This is just someone on Twitter disgruntled writing something. It's like Stephen A. Like, you just can't believe anything that comes out of these people's mouths.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, everyone's like saying, oh, my sources tell me this, my sources tell me that, and it's like everyone probably has different sources. And let's be honest, though, if you're getting information that's these sources are telling you, I'm sure half of it is information that they want you to know on purpose or leaking to you so that, you know, it manipulates the other team. For example, if like the Spurs camp leaks that Kawhi is willing to go to the Clippers, then, you know, it might be a play to get the Lakers to pay more or like give up more in a trade. Who knows? Yeah,
in the same way, like the whole like, oh, Lakers are going to make a run for Dame. Like, you were telling me pretty much today, that's probably just a ploy to make the Spurs think that, like, oh, maybe there's someone else on the table besides Kawhi.
Exactly. I mean, ultimately, if I had to guess, it just depends, like, who you trust, right? So, like, I mean, Woj is one of the probably biggest insiders that we all know. Like, he's always dropping these Woj bombs, and according to Woj, he thinks that Kawhi only still is focused on the Lakers, even though other guys are saying he's okay with the Clippers. So I guess you got to take everything with a grain of salt, and I think it's going to drag into August, to be honest. Last year, I remember Kyrie got traded in August, but one interesting information I did find out is that the Team USA basketball camp practice is coming up in July 20th, in a couple weeks, actually. And the interesting part is Pop is now the coach of the USA team, and Kawhi is like one of the invitees for the USA team. So
is he healthy enough to play yet?
Even if he is, I don't know if he's gonna show up. Like, if Uncle Dennis will let him show up, considering Pop's the coach. So
I would be really upset if this is like how Kawhi's career kind of goes downhill for a guy who had so much promise. Like, he becomes known as this guy who's hard to work with. Because not of himself, but because of his family members. I ultimately think that, this is going to push into the season. I think the Spurs are stubborn enough where they're going to wait to get the best offer possible. And they are convinced in their talent evaluation and their talent development that, hey, even if we lose Kawhi for nothing in the next offseason, we're not going to just let him dictate. Like, we're not going to be controlled by a player. I feel like that's what their organization has always been. But I think ultimately towards the trade deadline, do you think the Lakers are going to get desperate and start giving away some of their younger players in order to get Kawhi?
So I think it seems that so far the one thing I've seen with Rob, like Pelinka and Magic, is that they've had the patience to not give up the farms. And ultimately it could have been a mistake, right? So last year we didn't do that for Paul George and he left. So now there's that risk. Same thing with Kawhi. Even though he's telling us that he wants us to play, he wants to play for the Lakers. If he does go to another team, then there's always that risk that he doesn't come to you then. But I think what the Lakers are banking on this time is that the 2019 free agency class is not only Kawhi. There's these other guys that are in there potentially. And maybe even if you don't get Kawhi, we get one of those guys. So I don't think the Lakers will give up the farm. But I don't get how like the Spurs act like they have the leverage here, because this guy could potentially just walk away for nothing in a year. So it's like they just got to take the best deal that they get. But I don't see how they have the leverage, but they're acting like it.
Well, I think it's partially like, they're going to push towards the trade deadline. Kind of same thing with what happened with like the Nuggets and Melo. Yeah. And just keep pushing. And over the course of the season, Kawhi's either going to have to play or at least be close to the arena. I mean, he can't stay away forever.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, if he doesn't show up, like he's gonna lose the salary basically.
Exactly, and he doesn't want that because then his uncle doesn't get paid. But
but at the same time, like I just can't imagine Kawhi coming back into that locker room after all the relationships that have been fractured now, and Kawhi coming back into that locker room. That's something that seems like it would just be so awkward. Like after everything the Spurs players and organization has said about Kawhi and vice versa. Yeah. But yeah, who knows?
Well, how about we do an exercise here? Put on your Magic Johnson cap and tell me if this gets close to the trade deadline. What assets would you be willing to give up to get Kawhi, and likely in the setting of him agreeing that he would sign a long-term contract with you guys?
I think the deal that we would have to do is Ingram and Kuzma for Kawhi, basically. And picks. We're going to have to give up some picks, but according to what the latest report said, the Spurs wanted Ingram, Kuzma, Hart, 2 first-round picks, and 2 swaps. So basically they're looking for what the Nets gave up to the Celtics in that KG Pierce deal. And I think that deal kind of ruins all these other deals because now teams expect that. That deal and the Melo deal in 2011, that trade deadline deal, that's become like what the gold standard for what teams are asking now, but you just can't give up that kind of like thing. It's too much of a risk. Like you get one player, and if he gets injured or something, you basically gutted your whole team. But for a guy like Kawhi, and to ensure that he's on your team and he'll sign, then I think it's okay to give up Ingram, Kuzma, because I know the Spurs are going to ask for Ingram, not Lonzo. So that way you're giving up like 2 like really talented wing players, but you're probably getting a top 3 player in Kawhi, assuming he's healthy.
And what about picks? One first round, one swap. What would you? Because that ultimately,
Yeah, so
I feel
I
like
think you
picks
can't.
are.
Yeah, so you can't trade like consecutive first round picks. So they would have to give up like this year's 2019 and then maybe a 2021, unless they get a first round pick from some other team and acquire some salary or move stuff around. That I'm not sure how it's gonna work, but I think it'll take at least 2 first round picks.
And then would you try to put the Dang contract in that so that you get a little bit of cap relief?
I would try, but there's no way the Spurs are taking Dang. Like,
I mean, it's 2 years, right? So he's expiring soon.
Right. So by the trade deadline, yeah, you pay him for a half a year, and then he's an expiring contract. So then he's a little bit more. That's why I think next year in next summer, he's definitely a movable contract because he's a $18 million expiring contract.
And then if Kawhi doesn't get traded or somehow the relationship is fixed, then who are you looking forward to in 2019 with this like star-studded free agency? I mean, we got guys like, I'll just list a few of the guys that I know and you can fill in the other guys. So Clay's a free agent.
Yeah.
KD is going to be a free agent because he did that 1-1, right?
Right, exactly. And I think
Kyrie is a free agent.
Yep.
Boogie is going to be a free agent because he just signed a 1-year deal.
Yep.
And then obviously Kawhi is a free agent. So those are the big 5 guys that I think about for next free agency. But I'm sure there's other guys as well.
Yeah, I mean, Karl Anthony Towns will be a restricted agent unless he signs the extension in this fall. We'll see what happens there. We know there's rumors of fractured relationship in Minnesota. Jimmy Butler doesn't like playing with Karl Anthony Towns, so we'll see what happens there. I mean, ultimately, if we don't get Kawhi, I think you and me both, we would love to have Kevin Durant on our teams, right? But we'll see. I mean, it seems like the Warriors are going to three-peat this year, so the only reason I could see KD leaving is that he just wants a new challenge. Like, people are, even though he's winning titles, people are still giving him, they're giving him flack for, joining a super team. So maybe that could be the only motivation for KD to leave, but I don't see that.
But then do you think he would leave to join a guy like LeBron? I mean, I don't think that would give him any more.
That's why I don't think he would come to LA. So
But what about getting a guy like Clay from the Warriors? I mean, that would be like a momentum swing, right?
Clay would be amazing, but I feel like he's gonna sign an extension anytime now, or like at least sometime this season he'll sign an extension, and they won't even let him get into free agency.
So what about Boogie? I mean, it's kind of crazy. Like 3 out of the 5 starters for the Warriors are going to be free agents next year.
Yeah. Boogie, it's such a wild card. I mean, I know some people are optimistic. I'm really not. I think that Achilles injury is just so devastating. If you look at the history, the only guys who've kind of recovered from it were Dominique Wilkins back in the day, and then recently Rudy Gay. But even Rudy Gay, he's still a good player, but he's not the same player he was before.
Yeah.
And I mean, the biggest recent example is Kobe, right? Once you get that Achilles injury, even after you come back, your body starts compensating in other areas for that torn Achilles or repaired Achilles. And then he tore his labrum in his shoulder, and all these injuries started popping up.
Yeah, and for Boogie, I mean, I heard he was offered 2 years, $40 million or something, or 2 years, $20 million by the Pelicans, and he turned it down.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money he left on the table, and I kind of agree with you. This is a 300-pound dude who doesn't really have athletics in his DNA, so maybe that'll help a little bit. A lot of the times we talk about these Achilles injury guys, it's these super athletes who Dominique and Rudy Gay who took a huge step back in their athleticism. I mean, DeMarcus Cousins, you don't really think about him as athletic, but he's still running around 300 pounds, and that's a lot.
And
of
a guy
pressure
whose work ethic we've questioned in the past, so we don't know how hard he's going in the rehab also.
So do you think that this Boogie to the Warriors thing was the worst thing for him? Because now he's almost an afterthought. If he plays, great. If he doesn't play, he's going to sit on the bench, collect his $5 million and then get forgotten about. Because I don't know if there's too many other teams that actually put in an offer for him. I mean, he signed pretty quickly, but if the Pelicans had an offer in and no one else offered him more than $5 million.
I think it was a big mistake to leave $40 million on the table coming off a torn Achilles. He obviously thinks his worth is much more, so I mean, I guess props for that self-confidence, but leaving $40 million on the table is a lot.
Yeah, the only thing I could kind of think about in terms of doing that is because with the Warriors, he has less pressure to rush back because the regular season is almost a wash for them. And so for him, he just has to target the playoffs. Had he gone to any other team like the Pelicans, they may have needed him in the regular season.
Yeah.
And so he
And
kind of
apparently
had
it
to
was
take all the
eating at
pressures
him.
off.
Yeah, apparently it was also eating at him that he's never played in the playoffs. Like last year, he didn't get to play. So, but I mean, like the thing is, like you said, the fact that even if on the Warriors, I don't know how much opportunities he's gonna have to really showcase that he's still the same guy or he has some of that ability back. Unless towards the end of the regular season, Boogie's back, and you know how like the Warriors last year we saw they pretty much took the end of the regular season off.
Yeah.
They started resting guys and stuff, and that might be Boogie's time to shine. Basically, they bring Boogie in and they say, all right, you do your thing. Like it's fine. Like we don't really care about 1 seed, 2 seed wins and losses at this point. So you can kind of showcase whatever you want, and then once we get to the playoffs, we're gonna go with our guys.
That's possible. I mean, I think that obviously it was a mistake for Boogie, but I can also see from his perspective to like if this is the end of his career because he'll never be the same, kind of his way of ring chasing towards his end of his career in the way that he had envisioned his career to be, which is like this long career with a lot of playoff appearances. I mean, this might be the last time we see Boogie in the playoffs. And so I think a lot of people have been going crazy about, oh, Boogie was acquired by the Warriors keep getting stronger. I don't necessarily think he's going to make that big of a difference, at least for this 1 year. But what I am worried about is if he does come back to any resemblance of, good health and whatnot, is the same thing that happened to Paul George, which is he goes to this culture that he falls in love with. Maybe he has like all these on-court and off-court antics kind of go away. He's willing to take less money and be less selfish because he's just in an environment. Because he's never been in an environment until this year in New Orleans where like it was conducive to him being a good person. I mean, like the Kings are just chaos, and he was chaos because he was in the environment of chaos. And like now he's going to the perfect harmony of the Warriors, where you never hear anything bad. Like everything is always like rainbows and butterflies.
Right. So, I mean, I hope it works out for him. And the other thing is, like, all those people complaining, this is a 1 year thing. If Boogie plays well, there's pretty much no way the Warriors can bring him back because they signed him at such a low amount for the $5.3 million. And I think they don't have his birthright. So if they wanted to bring him back, then you can't go up on the salary more than like 75% or something. So
yeah.
You can't, there's no way that the Warriors can bring him back. This is clearly just a 1 year thing.
Right.
But really quickly, so what are your thoughts on some of these other deals? The Chris Paul 4-year max deal, $160 million, a 33 or 34-year-old point guard coming off that injury, the hamstring injury in the playoff. What do you think about that deal?
Well, so first off, I think it's an awful deal, but I also think it's a deal that was done a year ago and not necessarily right now. I think it's an awful deal for two reasons. One is, I mean, Chris Paul has been riddled with injury his whole career, and like, unless the Rockets are going to take him off the court during the regular season for an extended period of time so they can preserve him for the playoffs, or maybe even sit him the first round in the playoffs, I can't imagine him staying healthy throughout the whole playoffs. And the second thing is, who wants to pay, a 37, 38-year-old Chris Paul $40 million, right? It's $40 or $42 million in his last year.
Yeah, that end of the deal, I mean, the last year of that deal is looking terrible. It's like $43 or $44 million.
Which is crazy, but it also goes to show me that the chapter of this James Harden, potentially Daryl Morey's current iteration of the Rockets is coming to an end, and if they're not able to beat the Warriors in this next year or two, then they may be looking to move some of their players, or they may just be content with being like the middle of the pack teams until these contracts expire.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was, like you said, this deal was pretty much kind of one of those wink-wink deals when they traded for him, because he was not going to opt into his contract and then not get paid the following year. Right. I think the compromise they sort of came down to was the 5-year, the real max was the 5-year, $200 million deal. And so they didn't do that. They did 4 years, so one less year. But still, 4 years is... I think the Rockets probably would have liked to do 3, and CP3 wanted 5, so they came to the compromise for 4. Still not a great contract, because now they're pretty much locked in. Yeah. Until the Ryan Anderson contract comes off their books, they have no flexibility at all.
And the worst thing is, like, I feel like Chris Paul wants to win, but this is not the way you win. I mean, you want to leave some money on the table so that you can get some role players or keep guys like Trevor Ariza. I mean, we saw with KD, I know it's not a lot of money, but he left money on the table so they can make sure they keep Iggy and they keep Livingston And if
Exactly.
CP3 wanted to keep that team together, I think Ariza may have been a little bit out of the payroll regardless. Like CP3 would have had to take a huge pay cut, and I don't think he was going to do that, particularly because this is his last contract.
Yeah, and now they have to pay Capella.
And now they have to pay Capella. I mean, do they have to pay Capella?
It seems like what the problem is, he's not getting an offer sheet from any other team, but if he does, they'll match whatever he gets. And I mean, we'll talk about that in just a little bit. Like, there's just no money on the table for these restricted free agents.
Yeah, it's because guys like Alan Crabb have all the money from 2 years ago, and like the salary cap spike happened, and all the guys that like happened to not have their contracts up at that time are really suffering now because of it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's a problem when guys like Mozgov, 16 million, Deng, 18 million, Evan Turner, 18 million. Like, I think the worst is Bismack Biyombo is getting paid $18 million. So that I think all these teams is the theme of this offseason is like, what were we thinking in the summer of 2016, where the cap space, salary cap expanded, and all these teams were just reckless with their spending.
And now you see the opposite. Now teams are so conservative with their spending that they wouldn't even offer Boogie, a 1 year, $10 million deal or whatever it would have taken to kind of pry them away. And so I think people are so reluctant to spend any of their salary cap for 2019 because they're like, look, we got to preserve everything so now we can get one of the top guys and not overpay some of these middle of the pack guys.
Yeah, well, no, it's funny that you mentioned that, like, all these teams reluctant to spend. Then we have the Oklahoma City Thunder, who do the complete opposite, and they're going to have a $300 million bill this year, basically. Unprecedented. No team has ever hit $300 million between their salaries and then the tax bill, because they're a repeater on the luxury tax now.
Yeah, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, I heard that they opened up a new mint in Oklahoma City so they could just print money, because I guess for a franchise that used to be so cheap that over, $8 million or $6 million, they wouldn't keep James Harden.
Not even 8 or 6.
Oh my God, $4 million, they wouldn't keep James Harden. Now they're just, I mean, then again, the ultimate culprit of all of this is a guy whose jersey I'm actually wearing right now, Carmelo Anthony, who just happens to fuck franchises no matter what he does.
Yeah, I mean, you know what the crazy thing is? Like, the Thunder were purchased for $350 million, and their owner's paying $300 just for this team, for a team that got lost in the first round to the Utah Jazz. They're basically bringing the same core back, but the funny, I don't think, there's no way they're gonna keep Melo. Like, they're gonna have to like buy him out and stretch it, because I read that once they do that, that saves them $100 million just doing that to Melo's contract, because of the way the luxury tax is set up and the repeater tax that they're paying.
And that's why I actually wouldn't be surprised if Melo ends up with LA later on in this offseason.
To play with his friend Bron.
Yeah, like they wanted to be together, or Melo ends up with, like, because the thing about Melo is he never wanted to leave money on the table, really. I mean, he left a couple $1 million with his contract with New York, but he never really wanted to leave money on the table. And so now he'll get paid his stretched out contract when he gets waived or when he gets bought out. And then he can go play with one of his homeboys and like kind of just have fun.
Yeah, I mean, if he were on the Lakers, like, at this point they can only give him the minimum, but obviously he'll be getting the real salary from the Thunder still.
And Lala and being in LA, I feel like that's something he would want to be at. Like, I think he probably doesn't want to be in OKC like long term, unlike Paul George.
Yeah, I mean, and Lakers, that's something that we could use. I mean, the problem is Melo doesn't want to come off the bench, but maybe if it's for LeBron, he would come off the bench if LeBron tells him. I don't know.
Or they just do something like Melo starts but plays like 2 minutes and gets pulled right in the beginning.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so we're talking about like all these restricted free agents. It's funny, right? So like now guys like Clint Capella, where it's kind of, I feel like so now when he goes back to the Rockets team, right? Eventually he's going to go back. I wonder if it's going to be a chemistry issue now that the Rockets didn't even offer him the contract, right? Usually, if you want to keep your restricted free agent, the easiest thing to do is give them the max or give them whatever contract they want. Whereas the Rockets are playing this hard game, and I understand because they already are capped out, where they're saying you go find a team that'll give you a salary or give you a contract and we'll match it. Yeah. And the problem is they're doing that knowing that no team has any money left, so they know that Capella has to eventually take whatever the Rockets give him.
Right. I mean, I feel like historically teams would go out and try to screw other teams over by giving contracts. Like I remember Jeremy Lin's poison pill contract and Landry Fields' poison pill contract. It seems like there's a little bit less of that happening nowadays, where teams know that their own team wants to keep that player. So like teams know that Rockets want to keep Capella. Why not just go out and offer some sort of absurd contract? Like it would be unprecedented for the Rockets to let Capella walk at this point, but why not just hamstring them for the next 5 years? And either they're going to win this with this team, or they're going to be screwed because they're going to be paying so much money. If they just offer Capella the max contract, anyone that has the money in New York, let's say, just offers him that money, even though our roster is full at this point. But
yeah,
still.
I think so. There's literally no one with salary cap space left now besides Atlanta, Orlando, and one other team. I think it was Philadelphia, but now I think even they're done because they recently acquired Wilson Chandler. Yeah, they signed JJ Redick, acquired Wilson Chandler's salary in the trade with Denver. They brought back Amir Johnson, so I think it's literally Atlanta and Orlando with salary cap space now. That's it.
It's crazy.
And Sacramento.
Yeah, but it's Sacramento.
Yeah.
But then, I feel bad for guys like Marcus Smart. I mean, these guys were like, he's a big contributor to what Boston was and Boston's grit. And I ultimately think he'll end up going back to Boston for a lot less money than he's worth, because he's just not going to find money out there. I mean, this is a guy that, if this was 2 years ago, he'd be getting like $14-15 million per year. And now he probably won't get a contract over $10 million. I mean, he's probably going to get like $7-9 million per year, if that.
Yeah. I think, he's another guy. I mean, I just saw that the Celtics haven't even contacted him. Like, they haven't even offered anything. They basically gave him the qualifying offer, like $5 million, to make sure that usually you give the qualifying offer so that they become a restricted free agent.
So they can't walk.
But they haven't done any negotiations after, so he's feeling hurt. But it seems like the move to do this year is sign a 1-year deal so that you can hit free agency in 2019. 53 deals signed this offseason. 29 of them were 1-year deals. So,
but is that the smart thing to do? I mean, we were just talking about all these big guys, and I know teams will have a little bit more cap space next year, a lot more cap space next year. But unless teams start getting reckless when they start striking out on some of these big guys, maybe they won't spend that money. Maybe, especially if guys like KD keep doing 1-and-1s, like maybe they'll just be like, oh, we'll try for KD next year. Oh, we'll try for Kawhi next year. Oh, we'll try for Kyrie next year, and just like not offer these guys contracts because.
Yeah, and I think the problem is once you take less, then you kind of set the precedent that becomes your value.
Right.
So then teams will be reluctant to go further, much higher on that value, unless you have like a super break. I think it's just a bunch of guys betting on themselves and saying we're gonna have that breakout year finally. So we'll see if that happens.
Man, the NBA 12-month sport. There's like no rest for the weary.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as you think like things are kind of calmed down, and now summer league is starting, and you see guys like Trae Young putting up like 15 air balls in one game.
Yep. Yeah, that's that. I think it's become the only sport that we follow 12 months in a year. No other sports like it.
Yeah.
And it's all because of the player mobility, like the fact that there's always players moving around, so we're always on it.
Yeah, and like, what's his name? Jaren Jackson, man, that guy already looks like the real deal.
Oh yeah, his first summer league game makes 8 threes. It's like, wow, this 6'11" guy. And I mean, he was the guy who people were saying that he could be the best player in this draft. But wow.
But I mean, like people were saying he could be the best player in this draft, but it might take a couple of years because he's the most raw out of all of them in the top 5.
Yeah, I think
this guy looks ready.
He's only 19. I think he's the youngest player in the draft.
And he's already seems like he's ready. I mean, people were saying his best quality was defense, and
sorry, he's only 18. He's turning 19 in September. He's only 18.
God, man, is this what he's on Memphis, right? So this is what Memphis needed. Like now they can finally transition out of the Marc Gasol era and go into the Jaren Jackson era.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll see. They're still stuck with the Conley and Parsons contract, so.
That Parsons contract is almost done though. 2 years, right?
In 2 years, but he's another travesty of the 2016 offseason, Chandler Parsons.
He got like $90 million or something like that, right?
Yeah, 4 years, 94.
God damn. He's like, it feels so bad for the guys right now who are like out there trying to get contracts. I mean, guys, there's a couple of guys who are coming back from like major injuries who have played well but are going to get really shitty contracts, like Jabari and Zach LaVine. I mean, they're restricted, so they're not going to get any good contract out there. There's no incentive for the Bulls and the Bucks to go out and offer them any money.
Yeah, I think they're going to take their 1-year deals, short-term deals, and try to get to free agency again as soon as possible.
It's insane.
But yeah, all right, man. It'll be exciting to see what else happens this offseason.
Yeah, I want to give a quick shout out to 2 of our boys. They know who they are. Congrats on getting engaged.
Oh yeah.
Looking forward to the bachelor party.
Yep.
All right, dude. Till next time.
All right. See ya, man.
Later.